Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about Blades in the Dark, and specifically the most elegant rule I have ever seen in any tabletop role-playing game system ever, without a period stop. All right, so I have read about between 100 and 200 tabletop role-playing games, at least 100, absolutely no more than 200, right? And I've read a lot of tabletop role-playing games, and over the last 10 years, I've completely, really shifted away from source books. And one of the ways I'm able to read so many tabletop role-playing games is I really don't deal with source books. I just deal with core rule books, and they're just by far my favorite. I feel like, the value for your money is always higher on a core rule book, and core rule books just have so many advantages. All right. So, there is a new tabletop role-playing game called Blades in the Dark. It is by John Harper. It is put out by Evil Hat Games. Fred Hicks is the man who brought this to market. John Harper is the writer and the designer. John Harper is an old school, he's been around for a while, and he's always made these really strange little games like Ghost Lines and Lady Blackbird and Lasers and Feelings. He's an absolute tabletop role-playing game genius designer. Here's his rule, okay? So, Blades in the Dark is a Victorian crime steampunk tabletop role-playing game. And there is a character class called Lurk, okay? And the Lurks have a class feature, okay, called Reflexes. So here is the Lurk class feature, Reflexes. I'm going to say it right now. It reads as such. When there is a question of who goes first, the answer is you. Period. Stop. Okay? That's the rule, right? When I read this, I had to put the book down. It was just so incredible because John Harper is doing so much with this rule. So one, he is displaying how you be succinct. It is a succinct rule, okay? He is displaying how you display elegance in rules design. He is displaying a complete and utter lack of fear for players. I can't tell you how many games I have read that go on for sentences and paragraphs, with all this worry about what your players can do. And it's always, I guess those are always there in order to be there for unconfident game masters. I've always wondered why that was there, because I've heard this term a broken game, right? And that's what all these games have all these extra rules for and all this equivocation for, right? And why their rules aren't succinct is because they're trying to equip the game master to deal with problem players and players who are going to break their rule system, right? Well, no player can break a rule system, any tabletop role-playing game rule system, for any game master worth his salt, because the solution is always the same, right? If some player comes up with some super cool solution and it's causing a problem in the game, you're the game master. You take his super cool solution, you copy it onto 5 other non-player characters who do his little trick to him, right? Or her. And done. And that's just one way to handle it, right? A game master controls the weather. They control the non-player characters. They control the monsters. They control meteors falling from the sky. There's no such thing as a broken rule for a player, okay? In all tabletop role-playing games, game masters are essentially handed the power of a god. So there's really no way for a player to break a game. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the difference between a player and a game master. So I was so impressed with John Harper's understanding that he does not need to fear any player breaking his game, right? And it just makes the whole book read so seamlessly, and it's just written so elegantly, right? And also, it is displaying a confidence in his game masters, that they're going to understand that they'll already know this, right? And it's just a really incredibly well-written rule. It's the best tabletop role-playing game rule I've ever seen. The other thing it does is it tells the player when they're reading that book and they look at the alert, they're like, that rule says to the player, you are the center, your character is the center of this world. And it's a great, really, really nice statement. So this rule does so much with so few words, and this is what John Harper's all about. It's just bringing a level of rules design that is rarely seen anywhere else in tabletop role-playing games. And I highly recommend going out and getting Blades in the Dark for anyone who has ever played a tabletop role-playing game, and for every single game master under the sun. Because you really don't know what rules design is until you've seen Blades in the Dark. I am thoroughly convinced that Blades in the Dark will impact rules design for tabletop role-playing games for the next 5 to 10 years at least. It is a fait accompli. It is truly incredible. So take a look, check it out, and Blades in the Dark by John Harper. And a big old thank you to Fred Hicks for bringing forward an amazing game. Take care.